Good morning, I'm Glenn Sanderson. I'm the Cabinet Member on the County Council for Local Services and the Environment. This is a great project going on behind me to try and resurrect the floral clock that was a centrepiece for Carlisle Park in Morpeth for many, many years. Unfortunately, it's not working at the moment, and thanks to some great volunteers and interested people, there is a big campaign going on now to resurrect it and get it going again, and it's something the County Council are very keen to help, so we're supportive as much as we can be until we see what the plan is, and then if we can help, we certainly will.
Do you know anything about the sort of likely costs that might be involved?
We don't know exactly yet, because the actual mechanism is going back to the clock manufacturers, and they'll come back to us with a cost, and also potentially the cost of a newer mechanism that might be more robust and break down less often than the previous one did. So when we hear back from them, we'll then take that decision and work very closely with those people who are so keen to see this back running again.
And are you hopeful that that there may be some public contribution towards the cost?
Well, I'm hopeful there will be. I know that Barbara Ross and others who are working so hard on this project are working really diligently to get as much public contribution as they can, and I know that will carry on. And certainly as far as the County Council is concerned, we're going to look very closely at what help we might be able to give.
I'm Barbara Ross, and I'm the chair of Friends of Morpeth's Floral Clock.
Tell us a little bit about how the clock came to your attention.
Yes, of course. Well, we've always been aware, of course, of the clock in Carlisle Park, and many of us can remember its glory days from when it was first installed in 1972. But it came to our attention, I think, because people began to ask questions about the clock. We know that there were new plans for Carlisle Park, and we very much wanted Morpeth's Floral Clock to be part of it.
So, how has the campaign gone?
The campaign has gone absolutely fantastically. I mean, I must say, we did approach Northumberland County Council. We found them to be extremely encouraging and supportive. At the same time, whilst recognising, of course, in this day and age that county councils don't have public money to be able to maintain or to install items like this, which can be regarded as luxuries. But certainly we have got a great deal of members of the public supporting us. We've had lots and lots of well-wishers from home and abroad, and we've had substantial donations, and in fact within a week of starting the campaign we had donations of £2,000 from the public.
Do you have any idea how much you might need to raise altogether?
Yes, we do have. We believe that it's going to cost something in the region of £10,000 for the capital project. That is, if the clock is able to be repaired, and after that it will cost approximately £6,000 every year in order to maintain it. I mean, I would also like to add that it's been absolutely fantastic to have both of the families from the original clock behind us, both the family of Alderman Bert Jobson, to whom the clock was dedicated, and also the family of Bert Fairbairn Smith, who donated the clock in 1972.
Now, I know there are very few of these clocks left, but you've been to have a look at one which is still thriving. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was a fantastic opportunity. We discovered that there are actually only four floral clocks in England, which makes ours something of a rarity value. And we were fortunate enough to be able to go down to Park in Whitby and to learn a great deal about floral clocks from them. And what we're hoping is that if we can manage to have ours refurbished, that we're going to have it planted out in proper carpet bedding, which will make it the only traditional floral clock in England, which I think is going to be absolutely fantastic for the people of Morpeth.
Now, I understand that one of the problems that this clock has had in the past has been vandalism. And what would you say to the people of Morpeth about looking after the clock?
Yes, I mean, that is something, we're not naive here. This is something that has been considered in this day and age. And in fact, it was one of the questions which we had for the Friends of Carlisle Park when we visited Whitby. Whitby's Floral clock is in a very similar position to that of our own, in that it's next to a path on a main road. And within 12 years, they've only had one instance of vandalism, which was quickly remedied the next day. I think it's to do with maintaining it properly, which means that vandals are less likely to attack it, but we're also looking at anti-vandal measures. It's possible now to have clocks installed with anti-vandal measures on the pointers, and also to be looking at things like CCTV and proper planting, which actually deters the public from approaching a clock.
So are you convinced that the future for the clock looks bright?
I am convinced that the future for the clock looks bright. There is a question of whether or not this one can be repaired, whether it's going to be reliable if repaired, and whether it might be worth investing a little bit more money in getting one with a more modern mechanism which is more likely to be reliable. But I do believe with the force of public support behind us, and of course working with the Northumberland County Council are also encouraging, I do believe that this is achievable.
I understand that floral clocks are a bit notorious for being temperamental. What sort of problems do you get with them?
The biggest problem we have with the floral clocks is people tampering with the hands, and when they're going round they see them and start playing with them and jumping up and down in them.
Is there much that can be done to protect them?
There's not much that can be done to protect them, to be honest with you. It's just the surrounding area around about the clock that you can try and protect rather than the actual hands and mechanism itself.
I imagine that you work on all sorts of clocks, but how many floral clocks do you get to operate on?
There's 3 or 4 that I've been involved with personally. The one in Princess Street Gardens, and there's one in Inverness as well.
And are you hopeful that this one will be back in operation soon?
Yeah, hopefully within 2 or 3 months I would like to think.